All
Everybody
right,
is prompt.
here we go.
Come on.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. We will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern Time sharp. As you all know, hopefully y'all are doing well. We're super excited about this wonderful session. And thank you all for being here. So we'll be getting started shortly, all right?
How often do you do the DC Buzz?
Usually every month.
Okay, that's
So
nice.
yeah, every month except December because it usually falls right before Christmas break. So
Gotcha.
for the holiday break, yeah. I see you, Malik. Yes, it's been a minute. Good to see you. Hello, Brent.
Oh,
Super awesome. Right.
Are the attendees across the whole program, or are they in a, so every month as you get in or as you're
Yep.
finishing?
Oh
Associate
yeah.
photography. Good to know. Thank you, Malik.
Yep. The digital cinematography program. I don't know if they got to share with the film program, but yeah, definitely the digital cinematography program. We do it every month. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
We kind of like to open it up for those that are related, but I don't know if we posted on our on the website on the platform, so everybody can see it. So I'm assuming everyone that wanted to be here could be here.
And it's recorded, right? So people can see it
Oh
later.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
hmm
Yeah.
yeah.
Go
That's what's up. All
ahead.
right.
I'm sorry.
Malik, you had a question?
Oh, my bad, my bad.
Yeah, we heard you. It's like you have a question, Malik.
Yeah, we're always living for the recording. Every time I
Oh
join
yeah.
a webinar nowadays, people are like, "Are we gonna get a recording?" I'm like, "Can you
Right.
be here now? Can you?
Right.
You're
They
right
want
now.
they
We're
want
here
those
now."
notes. They want those live notes that you're sharing, Want to
Okay.
be able to rewind it back. But yeah, that's the world we're in now. Gotta have that recorder. Gotta have a recorder.
There's a cute part. I saw Elio, the new Pixar film, over the
Mm-hmm.
weekend, which it's lovely, by the way. I know it didn't make the box office uh, buzz that Pixar normally does, but it is still a good Pixar film. It's a good
Wow,
one.
nice. That's
But
good.
it's a it's got an interesting play toward our kind of online zoomy kind of world when
Mm-hmm.
the kid connects with the alien. At one point he's like, "You're on mute." It was just like my friends and I were like, yep, they still they go to these distant worlds and have these children and these people experiencing different things, but they still bring it back to what
Wow.
everybody's doing right here and now. So
Right. Right.
good stuff.
This is what we can relate to.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
How many people normally come? Is it any kind of?
It can, yeah, it can range. It can range easily between 10 to 50 people easily.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So just, you know, our students and faculty that are available and can attend.
Yeah.
Usually we give extra credit, some of the instructors as well, depending on the course.
Okay.
So yeah.
I remember that extra credit. It,
Oh yeah. It makes a difference,
it
right?
makes a difference. I was, you know,
And
not.
some may,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm gonna say some may be jumping in a little later, so we
Yeah,
never know. But yeah.
and we're not quite to 8 o'clock. My clock is now set on Broadway time. Usually, the show
Oh,
starts between 3 and 7 minutes after the show time.
oh,
So my
really?
so my friends and I, we always like, or like New York time. They always
Get
give you a
it, get
little
it.
like 10 minutes for the train. So
Right. That's funny.
I was surprised that people were already
Oh yeah.
gone 5 minutes before.
It was actually some that were here as early as 7:30. 7, yeah, 7:30, 35. I saw. coming in. All right. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
All right. And it seems like you all are ready. I'll keep an eye on extras as they join. Let's see, we have some still coming in. All right. We are recording this session, so everyone will be able to have access to it, everyone. So just to give you that introduction there. All right. So I guess I'll share my slide first since you're going to take it over, Stephanie.
Yeah, please.
All right. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm Ronald Diltz II. I'm the host of this wonderful session, and I'm truly honored to have the wonderful Hall of Famer, Stephanie Dawson, with us today. Stephanie Dawson is a producer, line producer, and production manager for narrative, unscripted, and branded content. Let me let other people in right now. Okay. She is currently a producer for national PBS series, Great Performances, with the WNET Group, where she contributed to the feature documentary Making Shakespeare, the First Folio and live captures of Shakespeare in the Park, Hamlet, and Richard III, some of my favorites, and Purlie Victorious on Broadway. We welcome everyone. Stephanie Dawson, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm gonna stop my share so you can take over.
Thank you for having me. People, please feel free to put some comment thoughts. Where you're zooming in from in the chat. I like to be interactive. I did create a presentation, but it's really this is really meant to kind of impart some information, but information that you find helpful. So if it's not helpful, got to go backwards. If it's not helpful, or if something can be made more helpful, please let me know. So as I was talking to Ronald about what I could present today, I feel like I'm in my auntie era. Like I'm just like, if only I knew, if somebody had told me when I was, so I really try to put together some information that, you don't always get in school. You may not have gotten in home, people coming to Full Sail at different parts of their lives. Maybe you do experience some of these, some of the school of hard knocks, and then you can bring that to school, but other people come right out of high school or have different experiences. So I just thought, maybe I can share some things that I've learned over the years and how I got there. And, so this is just sharing ideas. This is not a rule. This is not the way it has to be. I'm just kind of sharing so that you understand, or that you may think about these things maybe differently. So I like to share a little bit about myself, just so we kind of set a ground. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm not from LA. I didn't have any background or any kind of family that was involved in film or television. I actually only like maybe 10 years ago really put it together that my on my mom's side, my uncle, who is only like 10 years older than me. So when I'm 5, 6, 7 years old and spending time with my grandparents, he was in high school and he had a 16mm camera in his room, and he used to shoot and splice the film and then project it. And I was often staying with my grandparents, so I was the actor he used for a lot of his testing. So I got to see how films were made at a very young age. And I believe what really stuck for me is I was a big fan of the movie The Parent Trap, the Haley Mills version. So that's dating me. This is not the, I'm blanking on her name. Not the one from the 90s and 2000s. I'm talking the one from the 70s that played on the Disney Channel on repeat.
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan, thank you.
Thanks,
I have
Malik.
no disrespect to Lindsay Lohan. I just didn't. That's not the version I grew up with. I grew up with Haley Mills, who you may not even remember, but she was like a principal or something on Saved by the Bell. Like Haley is, she's up there in years, I'll just say. And one time my uncle practiced double exposing film. So he shot on one side, covered it's film. So he covered one half of the lens and had me do something on one side, and then reversed, basically reloaded the camera and then had the cover on the other side, and then had me do something on the other side of the film. And then when we could see it, I saw myself as twins, and I'm like, I'm Haley Mills. Like it was so, like, I remember that moment so vividly. So So it was really cool. And then on my dad's side, his dad, one of the many jobs he had was to be a projectionist at a movie theater in South Carolina back in the 50s. So this is a segregated South. And he would be in the projection booth, and my dad would sit with him and watch movies. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is Paradise, Cinema Paradiso, for those of you film buffs. So I came into it kind of organically, and I actually didn't pursue film as an undergrad. I was very good in math and science, and everybody said, well, maybe you should be an engineer. So I was like, okay, maybe I should be an engineer. Knowing that the thing I loved, I talked about, saw all the time, spent all my time working on were films. So, sometimes you don't know right away, and sometimes you need to try something else to know what you don't like or what you're willing to do. After working in IT for several years, I quit my job, moved down to Florida, went to Full Sail, studied film, and then after I graduated, I spent some time back at home for a little bit, but I then moved to New York City because I really liked independent film, and that's where I wanted to be. And we're talking 2006 is when I left Full Sail. 2007 is when I moved up to New York. And I also like to point out that I turned 30 at Full Sail, so I'm, not somebody who came out of high school and like immediately went into the film industry as a young person. I went in as an adult. I'd had a job. I knew I also had debt. I was not someone who could who would just kind of try things. I knew I had to make Full Sail work. I knew I had to get a job after. And when I went to New York, it was 2007. For those of you who can remember, that was the last writer's strike. So there was not a lot of narrative work happening at the time. And then 2008 was the financial crisis. So there was not a ton of work at the time. When I started working in reality shows, because that was what was going at the time, because the writers could not work. But at the time, mostly, I think everything in reality was non-union then. We're seeing more and more reality shows even become union now, particularly when it comes to writing. So I PA'd. I also worked at a hotel. Like I temped, because this had to work. I moved from Cincinnati, Ohio, which has a lower standard of living in terms of probably closer to Orlando. Like you could buy a house for like $200,000, and it's a nice, pretty nice house. To New York City, where rent was, when I got my first apartment, rent was $1,500 for a 2-bedroom. Now it's easily closer to $3,000. So I had to make it work. And now I'm with PBS, as Ronald explained. If those of you who are in the paying attention to politics and news, the current administration is in talks to take away funding for PBS and NPR. So I may be in a situation again where I need to pivot. That's another kind of, before we get into the discussion, another life lesson. This industry is up and down, and it's kind of on the whims of politics. It's on the whims of the economy. It's on the whims of labor unions and strikes and natural disasters and all these things. And you gotta be able to pivot. So I want to just give you that information to kind of ground it. So I love the Hall of Fame, but I want to let y'all know it's real out here. Like I'm spending every dollar that I'm making. I'm not balling out of control, but I'm doing what I love, and I'm making a living at it. I don't have to borrow any money from anybody, and to me that's success. And I think that's important. I just want to impart that we might be closer in our experience than it may seem. So I look at this idea of life lessons. I really like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you haven't heard of it, it's really just saying that for us to feel safe, like to get out of survival mode even, we need to have our physiological needs met: food, water, warmth, and rest. When people have those needs met, then they can do the next thing, safety and security. Once those are met, then they can then add on intimate relationships and friends. And then they can add on prestige, and this, we get into your job and your sense of self-fulfillment. So I like to put this out here because when we're going for our dream, like I sold my condo to go to Full Sail. I took on a student loan, like it had to work. I had given up the certainty and security of my corporate job that I'd had with IT. It can cause, you know, some stress. It can cause some anxiety. Those are things that I knew. I took some calculated risk. When I moved to Orlando, my uncle was living not too far away. Like I had some stability. I knew that if I ever couldn't afford a meal, I know I could call them up and hang out with my uncle and his girlfriend, and they were happy to have me, you know. And I also wasn't completely by myself. I could go to the movies with them, you know, before I found community at Full Sail. So just kind of highlighting that this is one way to think about how you look at, okay, what do I need to take care of? Is my housing situation figured out? Do I have food on the table? If you don't, maybe that's something that needs to be figured out before some of the other things that may be causing a burden. I think 3 building blocks for a long career is to build good habits. Literally, you know, what do you do on a daily basis? How do you take care of yourself? Like cleaning your house, like dealing with your, like working out and eating well. Like what are the ways you take care of yourself? And then I say building your kit, like your skills, your tools, your toolkit, your the people that you're working with, the resource that you have access to, and then your community. I think this is in terms of work life as well as a personal life. And I think all of them are valuable. I think they're comparably as valuable. Okay, so like I said, I moved to New York. New York is famously expensive. I think LA was not as expensive as New York when I moved here. Now I think they're fairly comparable. And you know, even Atlanta, like my cousin just moved out of Atlanta, and Atlanta's getting pretty high up there. So my suggestion, is there a question?
Somebody just moved. Yeah,
Okay.
You're good. Yeah.
My suggestion is to live as cheaply as you can while still being comfortable. So this might mean having a roommate, you know, if you don't have, or staying at home, living with family, if you can. There is a nice kind of guide that says if your expenses, the things that you need, are 50% of your income, and then have your wants be 30% of your income, and then save 20% of your income. That's a good way to think about how you're spending your money. If you're spending more than half of what you make on housing, what can you reduce that housing cost, or can you increase your income? Can you take on a side hustle? Can you do surveys online? I mean, that's one idea to think about if you're when you're looking about how you're spending your money. I like to set a routine. Film is very it's very uncertain. Long days. I'm tired when I get up to go to get on the subway to go to set. I'm tired when I get home. So having my meals already set aside for myself, laying out my clothes the day before, all these things, they feel like the things your parents maybe bugged you about when you were growing up, but they actually psychologically really helps you, because you are making decisions in a time where you have the capacity and the emotional ability to make those decisions, so that in the morning, or when you're stressed, or when you have at the end of a project or something, when you have less capacity to make those decisions, then it's already handled for you. You can use that brain space for other things. So little things like setting the time, a set time every week that you're going to you're going to clean your home, set time, you know, every day that you're going to do some self-care. Those things are very helpful to set yourself in a routine, and then it becomes habit. It becomes a no-brainer, and it becomes something that is part of your general routine. And it also helps you identify if something's pulling you away from that routine. Then you can identify, okay, something's wrong. Something's not happening here that needs to happen. Oh, I'm off kilter because I didn't get to do X, Y, and Z. That can save you some psychology, some therapy bills right there. If you can get yourself into a routine and identify when the routine's working for you and when it's not. I also put in here, set up an environment for success. I say that to you as well as to me, because I'm in a desk that's very messy right now. But having a quiet space, having a creative space, and having a workspace and having them be separate, like I can be creative. I have a box that has all my kind of art supplies. I like to draw and color. I'm not that good, but it doesn't matter. It's just for me. But that's separate from at my desk, because I'm in a different mindset when I'm at my desk. And then a quiet space when I like to read is more in my bedroom by the window. I think, that's something that I think would be helpful for you all if you're interested. The next one is also in the lower end of Maslow's hierarchy and needs. Working on set, working in production, we're outside a lot. So I have found over the years that instead of having birthday presents, Christmas, holiday presents, I ask people, I set up things that I need, like rain gear, like layers, like all these things I've gathered over the years. I tend to go to a lot of camping stores for the like wick away moisture clothing, the boots, all those kinds of things, because they're great on set. They're great for all weather. It's important to have all weather stuff because we're working outside at all times of the year. So the one thing I will note on here is for those of you who wear glasses like me, if it's raining, an umbrella is not helpful. Having this rain gear head to toe is helpful, but I also encourage you to have a ball cap, like a baseball cap, because they keep the rain off your glasses. So I've been in rainstorms, no umbrella. I've got my rain gear, but my baseball cap, and I am golden. Food and water, again, I don't want to make it seem like this is punitive, but if you can learn to cook, you can save yourself thousands of dollars. And there's so many, my assistant introduced me to a website called Budget Bites. There's so many resources where you can cook in bulk, you can create some meal prepping for yourself, because you would be surprised at how quickly time goes, and then you don't have anything, and then I'll just order, and the sodium and the grease and all the bad things they put in the food to makes it taste good, that adds up after a time. So if you can learn to cook, I also think it's helpful for you to know what you like and what you don't like. Make some snacks for yourself. Those are kind of very helpful things. I'm going to skip through some of these because I'm taking a bit of time. One of the things I put in my kit is I tend to carry a water bottle everywhere I go, because you never know how far you're going to be from Crafty. And I also bring snacks. So it's just a tip if it's helpful for you. I think it's important to learn to rest. I don't know if I learned to rest growing up. I was a high achiever. I got all the good grades. I was in all the clubs. And I had a serious burnout a few years ago. I did not understand what was going on. I was, just waking up in a pool of sweat, like headaches all the time, anxious, snapping at people. There was just I didn't know what was going on. And I started reading about burnout, and I learned that, your brain needs to rest. One thing that's been helpful for me is meditation. I'm a big fan of transcendental meditation. I think Jerry Seinfeld and the late David Lynch were big proponents of transcendental meditation, because you can do it, once you learn it, you can do it at any point. But there's like these apps, there's all kinds of, on YouTube, you can find meditations, just something where you can disconnect. The other piece is, I feel like you need, in addition to your work and your family life and all the things that you love and put your energy into, I think it's helpful to know what you need to do physically to release. So exercise, go for a jog, or just go for a walk, something physical. I think you need to put something physical into your routine, something quiet, and even if it's not mindfulness or meditation or something structured, just sit quietly for 20 minutes. If you can do that, that can help your body kind of reset. And then getting into nature is also helpful. It's crazy. Even our circadian rhythms, we are connected to this earth. And if you can get out, as we say, touch grass, take your shoes off, touch the earth just for 10 minutes. You'd be surprised at how it can reset you. And honestly, community is another one I would say, but then also practice gratitude. The more that I look at other people and what they have, the more stressed and anxious I am. The more I can realize that, wait a minute, I didn't need that before. I have what I need. And those kinds of practices, if you can put them into your routine, it will work wonders. Because if you're working from a space of gratitude, every day is a gift. If you're working from a space of lack and being without, you're going to always be behind, and that's a void you just cannot fill, and it is a road right to burnout. I also put in here travel between projects and gigs. I tend to when I'm working freelance, I plan a trip when I know I'm going to roll off the project, simply because I don't know when the next project is happening, or if I can set it up, I try to make sure I have a break. Because if you just go project to project to project to project, that last project is going to get your ire. It's going to get your wrath. You're going to be stressed out, and we don't want all that.
Stephanie, before you move
please.
on.
Yes.
First of all, I just want to let you know how much did I need this when I came through the film program at Full Sail, because that's something that we are not often taught. You know what I mean? And just taking time to rest. Like for me, rest used to be sitting in front of the TV, watching a TV show while working on a script. That's how I used to rest on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, once you have children and all that great stuff, you find that that's work now. You need to really, like you say, pull away from everything. And I'm to the point I'm so bad at it that I get anxiety when I'm not working, which is something I'm trying to work on. And I'm constantly trying to work on this. So I appreciate you sharing this much needed stuff that we need to know as filmmakers. So thank you. So I just want to talk about that.
No
So
problem.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, thank you for sharing. And I want to just highlight that what you shared, being in front of the TV and working on a script, that's a creative rest, but that is not rest. And so I think we need a physical, we need physical activity, we need creative rest, and we need literally do nothing. Lights off. I have a eye mask, so I can rest at any time of day. So, I won't have light in my way. I also listen to binaural beats. Like if you go to Spotify or if you go to YouTube, binaural beats, like it'll be sounds of space, or it'll be just these kind of rampant sounds that don't, it helps drown out the rest of the world. These things are very helpful to just have some time to rest. And 20 minutes a day would be golden. If you can do more, great. One rule I saw, which it feels so hard, I don't know if I can actually do it, is to spend 1 hour a day, 1 day a month, and 1 week a year on self-care, just on rest, on just taking care of yourself. If you can get up to that point, tell me how. In terms of healthcare, this is something that I feel we neglect. When you're on your grind, you want to, I want to get the next job. I mean, I'll share a brief story. I have a very good friend who is, he's working on a big TV show, and he had some sort of medical issue, so much so that he was crouched under his desk at work. They had to call 911, like they had to get him to the hospital, and he is unaware of what this is, and it was so hard to hear from him, and to hear that from him, and I'm just like, okay, when have you had your last regular checkup? And he's like, oh, well, between the kids and work. And it's like, okay, you need to take care of yourself. Put your mask on before helping others. They say that on the airplane. You take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, no one will. And you can't help those kids if you're not healthy. So it's like, as soon as you can, schedule that regular appointment. I now started a whole list, like what are all my appointments, what are all my doctors. I put it in a document. I save all my cards on my phone. So when I go to the doctor, or because they always ask for that one little number on the back of the card, I don't remember what that number is. I also, if you can't afford it, I mean, now hopefully with the healthcare.gov and those kinds of things, you can have some healthcare. If you do not, I know that like urgent cares will do at least a physical. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of yourself. Another big one, this should be number one, is some financial literacy. If I knew coming out of Full Sail what I knew now, I would be in a much different position. I put these 3 books up because I read these books recently and I love them. But basically, I encourage you to learn more about money. These books are great because they talk about, well, what is your relationship to money? What's your money story? How much, how do you view money? Is it a tool, or is it a bad thing? Or is it something I'm not allowed to have? Or is it something I don't care about and I spend whenever? All these things are very helpful to know because I'm getting into financial independence, which is a whole new movement. It's a whole movement about basically setting your own retirement, investing enough money so that you can basically retire when you want, or you can spend your time how you want. So I'm like, I want that. So these resources are helpful, but really just for me, it was like I was just spending money and then in streaming services and just going out to eat. And friends said, you want to go do this? I said, yeah, like without even thinking. And then next thing I know, I'm like, you know what? I could be more discerning about where I spend my time and my money so that I can have bigger trips later on or these kinds of things. So I say, again, that 50% of being all the things that you need. So rent, utilities, all the things you absolutely need. 30% for fun, do whatever. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about living within your means. And then if you can save 20%, please get an emergency fund. This industry is up and down. If you can save at least, there are a lot of great programs that say like first save $1,000, then save 1 month's worth of expenses. If you can get up to, it used to be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Now it's 6 to 12 months worth of expenses. I have friends who have not worked since the strike, which is coming on 3 years ago. So having 12 months worth of your living expenses can be helpful. And it's something you just literally, if you put $50 a week into an account, I say a high yield savings account because that interest can accrue. You'd be surprised at how much you can save over time. And then in those times in between jobs or when you want to take a big trip, you will have some funding. I'm going to skip the next one. I mentioned, I'm not going to spend a ton of time because we really want to make this conversational. So I'm going to try to wrap up in the next like 10 minutes so then we can have the rest of the time for Q&A. I mentioned habits. This is kind of the way I look at my schedule, just to share it to you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm sharing my things in case they're helpful to you. So a few years ago, I found the Habit Nest. It's a website, but they have a series of journals, and their morning journal said that your next day begins the night before. And I found that to be very important because if I look at the weather report for the next day, I pull my lunch, I pull out my clothes, I make a mental plan of what do I need to do. If I do that stuff the night before, I'm much more capable of achieving it than if I try to do it the morning of. There's something about the anxiety and the immediacy of having to do it all that really kind of rattles me the day of, that I don't have that issue the day before. So the first thing is like, find a time. Is it 7 o'clock? Whenever you're about to wind down, what's tomorrow going to look like, and what things you need to do to prepare for tomorrow. I make my bed every day. I did that as a kid, but then I learned that there's almost like a psychology to it. If I do nothing all day, at least I've made my bed. There's some kind of accomplishment I get out of making my bed each day. You don't have to do it, but I'm just sharing for me. I'm a big fan of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's a book, but it's also a system of it's called The Spiritual Path to Creativity. And one of the tenets of The Artist's Way is to write morning pages. So basically it's like all those thoughts that are keeping you from doing the next thing, or that are holding you back or whatever, just write them down. No judgment, just get them all out. She suggests 3 pages. Sometimes I just set a timer for like 15, 20 minutes, whatever works for you. I do the morning pages. Transcendental meditation is twice a day for 20 minutes. So I try to do that after my morning pages. If you can exercise, get some food. Like literally, I'm bringing it down. Shower, brush teeth, get dressed. Like all of these things, because when especially when COVID, I'm sorry, I hit my mic. When COVID set in, I was just lost. I didn't have my routine and go to work every day. So setting this routine really got my mind together. I was able to accomplish more things. So I'm literally trying to break it down for you. Like this is how I approach the day. So I also try to plan the day at the beginning, and I give myself, again, the habit nest journal was very helpful. It's like one thing to accomplish in the day. Don't like, I have laundry list. I have a laundry list of all the stuff I need to do. And that is so self-defeating. If you can have one goal that you'd like to do in the day and you accomplish that, it's funny, you probably do 4 or 5 more, but getting that one done is so amazing. And then, I do my regular work day, and at the end of the day, I kind of summarize, okay, what did I finish? What do I need to do for tomorrow? For those of you who are looking for gigs or you're looking for the next gig, summarizing your work also helps you when you want to ask for a raise or when you want to look for another job. You can see the kinds of activities that you're doing on a regular basis. If you summarize your work, maybe even weekly, and then at the end of the quarter, you can go to your boss and say, these are the things that I accomplished. Do you agree? Okay, let's document it. If you have, like I have a corporate job right now. If you're on a set, maybe you learned a new technology, or maybe there was learned a new kind of methodology, something interesting, a new way to approach a certain element. If you can write it down, it's so helpful, because I guarantee you the next show you go on, you can be the resource for the next person. And then I make my plan for tomorrow, and then I try to sleep. I try to get 6 hours a night. It's crazy. I know 8 is the rule, and the older you get, you need more sleep. So I need to work on that, but anyway, just hopefully that's helpful. I'm also big on record keeping. Let me tell you, when I got back out of college, I had some credit card debt, and I had credit card debt and student loans, and I didn't have an understanding of money. I was like, yeah, well, I pay my minimum payment. That's what I pay. Then at some point, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I guess I said to myself, I need to pay off this debt. So I said the universe, I need a job, that I need a regular job so I can pay off this debt. And then every Friday, I put something on my debt. Cedric the Entertainer years ago in the Kings of Comedy made a thing about if he was the president and they talk about the national debt. He's like, can I put something on it? Like that's, I treat it that way. Like I put something on my debt. Another way to think about it is, and I don't know if y'all are familiar, but when I was coming up, before every clothing store had a credit card, there was you could put things on layaway. You go to the store, you tell them what you want. I believe they held on to it until you paid a certain amount of money, and then once you paid a certain amount of money, you could have it. But it's like leasing a car. Clothes that you would buy, if you couldn't pay for it all up front, it wasn't just charge it and go. We had to. I remember going to the store with my mom. She would literally put $20 or whatever she had to put onto that until she could pay it off. So I treat my bills like layaway. Even now, I paid off. I literally paid off $14,000 of credit card debt doing that, just paying it off every Friday. I did that in less than a year, and then once I paid that off, I was like, I can pay off these student loans, and I applied the same thing for my student loans. And if you know Snowball method, you can pay off the one with the highest. I think Snowball is the highest interest rate first, or if you do the Avalanche method, it's the pay off the lowest balance first, so you get that sense of accomplishment. Whatever process you need to do, I encourage you to get a hold of debt, get charge of all your documents, keep them. I look at my expenses. I put my receipts together for taxes. I put that every Friday. I look at everything I've spent. I put it in a receipt book, and I identify what, is this something I can put on my taxes? Is it not? I look at, maybe I want to stop this this streaming service, blah, blah, blah. I know this maybe not what you thought it was going to be in terms of digital cinematography, but this is like the life stuff that you, in addition to what, the good stuff you're learning from Full Sail, from your experiences, how do you live outside of this? I'm going to keep going. So I live in New York City. We've had a number of fires. We have another number of issues. I'm building my emergency plan. I literally have my go bag. I have my secure documents in a fire safe bag. These are things that when I actually lived in Orlando, I had a similar situation because there were a couple of tornadoes that came through when we were there, and whenever there was a tornado coming through, I went to stay with my uncle and his girlfriend, but I brought all the stuff with me, and they laughed at me every time, but they admitted if something had happened, at least I had that kind of set up. I'm not going to stress you about it, but I do think these are some things you can start learning about, especially if you are far away from family, you don't really have a group that you can lean on if something were to happen. I encourage you to keep a copy of your employment documents on your phone. Every new job you start, they want your passport, or they want your social security card and your driver's license or whatever. Just keep a copy on your phone. It just makes everything so easy. When I was a PA, this is my office kit, and I'm going to show you. I have it in one of these like Trapper Keeper sized things that used to go in a binder. Again, Trapper Keeper, I'm dating myself so much. But just, this helped me because I would go from job to job to job, and I'd get there and there were no staplers. There were no pins. So I had a little calculator. I always brought a printer cable because even with Wi-Fi, so we had Macs and PCs and the Wi-Fi didn't work. I always had a USB cable to connect to the printer. Stapler, paper, money. I had PC envelopes, so if people handed me money, I had an envelope to put it in, a little notepad to write down what people asked me to do, any runs I had to do, I had it written down. If I had to call somebody, I had it written down in addition to put it in my phone, because sometimes there's no service, or what was that number again? I didn't quite get it. Like I could get it on my notepad. So in terms of building your kit, these are some things that I find have been helpful for me. And I, even to this day, if I go on a job, I put this one little bag into my backpack and I'm set. That's the same thing. I also bought these like set kits. This is from Cinebags, which I don't even know if they're around anymore, but I like having this bag because it goes on my belt. And then I also have, this is like a second AC bag. So when I'm on set, my bag will be somewhere, but I have this on me. No matter where I am, I have my Sharpie, I have my paper clips, everything. I'm trying to see how much more I put on there. I love to learn. And as you can see, I'm also aware of emergency stuff. So I am always listening to a podcast. I'll take a class. I teach budgeting and scheduling, but I still take budget. I will learn from somebody else. Maybe I'll pick up something new. Professional organizations, all of these kind of things I think are helpful. I talked earlier, make sure that you either know what makes you have fun, what makes you relax, what gives you physical energy, or find those things. That's very helpful. I mentioned building your community. I think we need communities at work, and we need professional communities, and we need communities at home and personal. We also, I think we need communities at our same level, as well as people above and maybe the people coming up, because it really, I mean, I'm here to talk with you all, but I'm getting something out of this too. I love sharing my experiences with people, and it really is kind of helpful. I'm gonna go, the biggest thing I wanted to share to end with, another thing, just as you're developing your craft, keep working on it. I find that watching films, reading scripts, reading the trades, being in organizations, all this helps make you a better creative. You don't always like what you see, but if you continue to expose yourself to new stuff, and then I tend to write reviews myself about shows that I like or didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, because I feel like that's a way that I'm educating myself. I want to share every year. I go onto the different, what they call for your consideration sites. So between like November and March is when all the award shows are happening. Well, the Emmys are in September, but each of the different companies that put out movies will have some kind of like awards or for your consideration website. And sometimes they will have the screenplays that are nominated available, television and feature film. So this is a good way to get the script. This is not going on some site or buying something. Like literally you can just download these directly. There's also a lot of interviews with the creatives. So this is in addition to reading any kind of books or going on YouTube, these are the company sites. They change every year. Sometimes you see Focus Feature Award 2019, probably changed for 2025. But I just do a search. They're supposed to be for guilds and unions, but they never ask for a password. I check it out. After that, in the interest of time, I'm gonna pause here so that we can go to Q&A because I like to talk and I want to make sure that.
This is awesome. Yeah, super
that-
awesome. All right, cool. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for such amazing. I mean, I was drawn into a lot of this. I'm like, man, I could have used all of this. So we have some questions. I know Malik have one. You all can start typing up your questions and we'll go through them in the order. Malik was saying he saw where it said headshot photo, I guess, on the resume. Is that something that's still important, I guess, for the industry jobs? He didn't notice most resumes use the ATS tracking system now. So what would you think would be best?
That's a great question. I am finding that I'll give you a caveat. I got my first job with my resume, and then for like 4 years, I got all my jobs just from people I knew. And then when I wanted to stop PAing, I wanted to production coordinate, then I had to bring my resume out again. And then for the next 3 years, I just got jobs from who I knew. So is that important? It's really hard to say because now AI is reading all these resumes. I think more important than having your physical picture on your resume is calling up the company, learning about the company, doing informational interviews, finding someone in that company who knows you. Full Sail, your fellow grads, your fellow classmates, and also previous grads, your alumni department, those are much more valuable resources because I know so many people that are applying for jobs that have the skills, they have the experience, but it's the in that got them to that job. And even if you're trying for entry level, reaching out, showing initiative. I literally have hired people that sent a resume, like literally sent a card in, like it was like, oh wow, they actually took the time to mail us something. We're gonna interview this person. So anyway, I think you need to have a headshot, especially in this day and age. You have to have a brand. It's good to have the headshot. Like the headshot that I use is the one I use for everything, and I probably need to use a new one in a couple years. So it's good to have the headshot, but I wouldn't rely on it. I don't think it's a make or break. I think the thing that's going to make or break is the relationships you build, the people that you make connections with for that job.
Awesome. I see Malik had a second question here, a couple in this. Have you ever considered, of course, owning your own production company, which I know you do? Have you decided to go, what made you decide to go the independent route? He mentioned that you worked for NBC and also reality TV shows, and heard that going independent was a much better experience, or a lot better. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So lots of questions. When I came out of Full Sail, when I went back to Cincinnati, I immediately started doing independent videography. I did events and things like that. And I found that it was very difficult for me to do it as a one-man band, because I had to market and find the job, and then I had to do the job. And while I'm editing, it would have been helpful to be able to find the next job while I was editing. So I found that did not necessarily work for me. I realized if I'd had a partner, if I'd worked with another entity, that would have been better for me. When I moved to New York, there was a lot of people still, production companies still requiring you to be paid as a 1099 as a contractor employee. A non-employee as a contractor. So I actually started my production company so that I could basically create that business entity separate from myself. So when I went on these jobs and got this work, the business entity was paid, not just me directly. So it wasn't my social security number going out there. And then I've done a number of projects under my production company. And I still will do them. So I did start the company. I am thinking about, how to move forward separately. I'm also developing feature film projects. So that is something that I'm doing, but now I do have other people that I'm working with. I found the special sauce is 3 people, myself and 2 other people. If we have less than that, it takes much longer to get things done. But when I have the 3 people and we're all working together independently on our different things, but we're each picking up a different piece of the puzzle, that is what I find has been a moment for success. Independent film, I've just always loved independent film, and I like the New York sensibility. I think LA is a little more relaxed and I'm more high strung, so it just worked for me in a personality wise. Better, right now I work for PBS, and I've done some movies that have had some content that I wasn't really happy putting that into the world. I've done reality shows where I was like, maybe I, wouldn't want to tell, people that I know that I worked on that show. And it's not like nefarious, but I wasn't really proud of it. But now working for PBS, I can say I'm proud of the stuff I do. So it's really what works for you. I know people who love reality, and they're like, this is a way that we really can connect with real people and have real experiences. Great. That's where they need to be. Like, you don't have to justify it. If it doesn't work for you, then maybe that's not for you. But for some people, it is a perfect fit. So, to each their own. Hopefully I got all those questions. That was a lot.
Yeah, you covered it very well, very well. Tiffany wanted to know if you could share the books you read, that slide again.
Oh, yeah. Let me see if maybe I can even put it in the chat. I was answering some of the things here. Okay, so let me go back to sharing. So I'm gonna put them up and then just ask maybe y'all wanna maybe I wanna do a screenshot of them. So The Artist's Way, I highly recommend. Rebel Without a Crew, if you haven't read it, oh my goodness. Robert Rodriguez, One Man Band. This is general stuff. All right, hopefully you take a screenshot. I'm gonna move on to the next one. So these books are for writers and directors. These are standard, a lot of people talk about these. I'm a big fan of Save the Cat because it's quick and easy, and I think everything else is still, everything else is great, but it's like Save the Cat but with more words. Sorry, okay. Hopefully you got that one. I'm gonna move on to the next. This is for producers and for actors. I'm not an actor. I've done almost the other. I've written, I've directed, I've produced. So those books I've actually read. These 2 I read just so I could understand acting a little bit better, but I don't know a lot for actors. All right, I think that's, and then this is editing, scripty. I'm not big on operating the camera. I hire people. I hired good people like y'all to do that. I think that's everything. Okay. So hopefully that's answers.
And I've been adding snapshots for those that wanted to just grab them if you can on your end. All right. I think I got them all. Okay. Cool. All right. What's the next question? Alan, did you see any other questions?
I did see one more. We had a question about someone's currently living in Miami, but they were hoping to get more into independent and feature-length films. So off of your experience, where would you say is a good location, like state-wise, where that's happening right now in the U.S.?
That's a good question. So we're in an interesting space right now where it's not where you live, it's where you cultivate. We're getting more into a space of, instead of making a film that goes to a festival and then wins big, which is 0.0001% of the films, we're seeing more individuals find community where they are, find their tribe, make the content for where they live, especially if it's authentic to where you live. Like, if there's something in Miami that people from Miami are like, oh man, that's so cool. Like, that is where you make your first 3, 4, 5 projects. And then when you have basically gotten to the zeitgeist, you are the, you know, I mean, I'm not really leaning on the Tyler Perry thing, but like Tyler Perry, he knew his audience. He built an ecosystem for that audience. He became known from that audience and then branched out. Linklater, he built his empire in Austin, where he was from. I know this is probably not what you want to hear. You want to hear like, oh, just move to New York, just move to LA, just move to Atlanta. All of these places now are so corporatized that it's going to take more time to break in than if you would spend that effort and energy finding people in your community. I guarantee you, within 20 miles of where you live, there are people who want to do what you want to do. They want to tell stories. And if you can, within that group, find, okay, who's the director, who's the writer, who's the cinematographer, who are the actors, and start making content, even like shorts, even like, you know, social media, all these kind of things. If you can build that stuff where you are, that can get you noticed. Because the other thing I've come to learn in this industry is not about what you can do, it's about what you've done. So even if you have done a short, like I watched this thing that came on my feed. It was I can't remember the name of it, but it was a web, it was like a 5-minute short of this very kind of active liberal woman who went into a coffee shop, and she was like, why don't, what are your pronouns and all these kind of things, and they were like, it was a spoof, it was funny, and it was very biting, and I'm like, I know what generation wrote this, I know what generation is going to watch this, and the more that you can do that kind of thing, then when people, when you want to get hired, or you want to make the next job, you want to make the next project, people say, what did you do? I did this, 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 and this. It does not have to be a movie. It can be, I did this social media campaign. I do these videos. There's another video I just watched with this woman. She literally just walks up to people and says, can I walk with you? And if they say yeah, then she mics them up. She's got cameras already ready. And it's a slice of life. You'd be surprised. We are so starved for human connection and human activity right now that anything that is authentic, that feels real, that is an actual human interaction will break through more than a very scripted, very structured kind of project. Anyway, so to answer your question, I can't say that there is any place. Right now we're in a more of an entrepreneur, film-trepreneur, if you follow what Alex, now what's his last name? I'm blanking on what his last name is. I know filmtrepreneur.com is a website that this guy made. We're more in that space. So find your audience where you are. Build your content where you are.
All right. Our next question, Alan, do you see?
I see one from Timothy. Their question was maybe some of your experiences, like your first breaking into the industry. They wanted to know how difficult that was for you.
My first breaking into the industry. That's a great question. I will say that it was not a linear process. It was a zigzag. So my first job, when I moved to New York, this is back when Craigslist was a reputable place you could even find jobs. And I found a gig on Craigslist that was for a reality show. And I took that, I got the interview, and it ended up being The Celebrity Apprentice, which back in those days, we didn't know what we were doing. Anyway, I worked on that show then for the next 7 seasons. But that show was like a month. It was literally a month of work. And then for the whole rest of the year, I had to find something else to do. But luckily, I met other people on that show that were going on to the next show. I ended up doing casting for Project Runway. We did casting for America's Got Talent. Just a number of jobs. And if somebody was going to go on something, we kind of went on something else. I really wanted to work in feature film, and I knew that. But I also was aware of the economy, so I wasn't, trying to. I knew that I may have to take the jobs that was available. So I ended up, as I mentioned, working for a hotel because the gigs were few and far between. But because I was working at the hotel, I could 2 or 3 days out of the week I could intern for an independent producer. So that's really where I started really having like more experience working in narrative, because I had a job that was paying for my day job, but once 3 o'clock came on, I could leave that job. Like it was like maybe I worked 7 to 3. I can't remember exactly what the arrangement was anymore, but so then I worked for this independent producer for the rest of the day, and I started getting credits off that. Then I think I'm trying to think of the trajectory. I just, I started gigging more and more, and as I had more friends, we'd do more and more reality shows. And then when a producer's, her actual assistant left and went on to make his own content, I was the intern, she called me, and so now I became the assistant. And for 3 years, I worked for her, and she was an independent producer paying me out of her pocket, because we were in development, and I read a lot of scripts. That was an interesting process because I learned how to do coverage. I read a lot of scripts. I did budgets and schedules for her upcoming projects. But when because she was paying me out of her pocket, she was very willing to let me work on other things, because then she didn't have to pay me when I did that. So I ended up coordinating 3 different features while I was still her assistant, which obviously, and it helped her too, because then I met more people and I had more skills and all those kinds of things. So big break. And then after I left her as a producer, then I was making very little because she was paying me out of her pocket. She paid me what she could get away with, essentially. And I think I'd amassed some credit card debt at that point. So I told the universe I need a job, so I got the job at House Hunters International. So I worked that for a year and a half, and then after that I did American Doers. Like, I've been bopping around. I don't know if any of these has been a first big break. I think they've all been a step in a different direction. The one thing I will say that you tend to get pigeonholed into something. So when I was working reality, I only got reality jobs. I only got reality calls. So you almost have to say to yourself and to everybody else, I'm no longer taking these gigs. I'm no longer working as a PA. I now want to be a coordinator. I'm no longer a coordinator. Now I want to be a production manager. I'm no longer a production manager. Now I want to be a line producer. You have to say that to yourself and the universe, because I find that when I say that, all of a sudden these jobs for the previous things start coming out of the woodwork. But that's the biggest thing. I don't think there's been a big break. Everything's kind of been, okay, this job came up in life circumstances, what I learned, who I knew at the time, all that kind of fed into it. But when I wanted to make a leap, I had to do that for myself. I know I'm getting close to the end of the time. Do we have any more questions I can say more quickly?
Yeah, if someone wants to type in one last question, I do want to just say this whole session has been amazing. I encourage every single student here, please watch this recording again as soon as you're about to graduate. It's going to be a lifesaver. And honestly, watch it 2 years after you graduate too, to kind of get yourself like reassociated to, how you should be acting. I could say for certain, it has probably been 5 years since I've gone and seen a doctor. So this has been good for me too to hear.
Alan,
Yeah, I am.
yes.
I am making an appointment tomorrow. I promise you.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's like, Alan, this is the first time you're telling me this, because I would have been on your case a long time ago.
And I appreciate that you shared that, Alan, really, because
Yes.
these are things that we don't think about, and we kind of just let it fall to the back of your mind.
Oh, yeah.
But you matter. You can't make this great creative content if you're not healthy. So take care of yourself.
Especially when you're first starting out, like I said, that 2 years is crucial because you're just on that grind set. You don't think about everything that matters is you starting the rest of your career. So I encourage every single person to revisit this, to recenter where your priority should be.
That is so true. And I love Stephanie too about the food, because as we all know, when we're on productions, that food is not always the best.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're not on productions, we need to be working out, especially, and getting training for the next project, because you're going to be tired. You're not going to be able to want to work out after a long 8 to 12 hour day.
Yeah.
So when you're not on productions, you definitely got to crank up the workout and the eating habits.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One more thing about food too is you're not always near crafty. You may have to fire watch something and lunch has happened, so somebody's going to bring you your meal cold after. So having your own snacks is just really, it's really helpful.
Oh yeah. All right, I
I'm
think,
happy to stay a little bit longer if y'all are, but I know we're there's a couple questions and we're at the
yeah,
last
we
minute.
may
So.
have, I think we have maybe two more here. Let me
Okay.
see. Let's see. DeForest, what question do you ask yourself when working on a project, or what thoughts come to mind when working on a project?
Um, working on a project, it's not always rosy. So I say to myself, I'm either learning or I'm getting paid. So if I'm getting paid enough money, then I can put up with some attitude. If I'm not getting paid, I'm learning. I'm meeting new people. I'm meeting new um, gaining new skills. I also want to hone my tastes. I think your taste kind of changes as you in different parts of your life, and I think the kind of content that you make changes depending on where you are in your life, who you are, and we need it. We need your story. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to have a different perspective, even on the same content. So it's important to ask those questions and to let yourself kind of understand, oh, my tastes are changing, or these are the kinds of things I'm more leaning into. The Vicky King book, How to Write a Movie in 21 Days, talks about that too. At different stages of your life, you tend to write different, or you create, or you want to be part of different projects. So that's important.
I love it. Professor Randy Baker wanted to know what brings you joy.
Ooh, good question. I love to sing. I sang my little heart out all the time, so that definitely brings me joy. I'm a big Broadway fan, especially musical theater. I try to see a show once a week, and that's because I know all the hacks to pay like $50 and less for my Broadway seats. And being with friends, I'm not so much about buying things or don't. I like to let's break bread together. Let's have a dinner. Tomorrow's my dinner club. We have a monthly dinner club in New York where we go to different restaurants once a month. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And maybe some of those things can bring you joy.
Awesome, awesome. Stephanie, is there a way that our students can connect with you that you don't mind sharing with them that are here? Or
Probably the
um,
best way is LinkedIn. Let me see if I
okay,
can. I'm always trying to figure out. Okay, LinkedIn. I'm not sharing anymore, am I? 'Cause
oh,
Nope.
you're free. You're good.
Yeah, just because my email box, I'm on a rampage now. I'm unfollowing, unsubscribing. I can barely see what's in my email because of all the stuff. But LinkedIn, I get a notification, so that's the best way. I gotta find the link. I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome, awesome. All
I
right.
did put it in the chat just so everyone knows. If you go to wearedcbs.com, that's how you can find all the archives for every single DC Buzz we've done.
Can I see them?
Yes, you can
Yes, you
actually.
can. Yes.
I wanna watch.
Come on.
Okay,
There are the links.
that's my LinkedIn. Please reach
Awesome.
out. Say hi.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie Dawson. Man, this was just so amazing. So amazing, so many ways. It blessed me. So I know it blessed our students. Um, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I appreciate y'all being here. I feel like this, Full Sail was such a pivotal moment for me because, like as I mentioned, I went to an undergraduate that really focused on what other people saw in me and not what I wanted. It wasn't my passion. So I applaud you all for following your dream. I think you're with some great people that also are following their dreams that are very creative and can be supportive in that way. Get to know each other, support each other, network at your level as well as above and below you. Like everybody's like, oh, I need to find producers. If you network with other DPs, you network with other ACs, those are the people who get you jobs because they're passing you jobs here and there. I just hope that what I've shared is helpful. And thank you, Alan, for reminding people, maybe it's not helpful right now, but closer to graduation or a year into your career. These are things that I wish I had known beforehand. And like, if I can share that with you now, hopefully that can be helpful because we're in a place now where you need to be more of an entrepreneur. You need to take care of yourself. The systems, there's no pensions, there's the things that used to take care of people aren't going to be there, or they don't exist right now, and they're waning. So we need to figure out how to take care of ourselves and take care of each other. So hopefully that's helpful to you all. Thank you so much, Ronald. Thank you, Alan. Thank you to everybody who's here. I appreciate y'all. I wish you the best. Good luck with class and with your coursework and with graduation, and hit me up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie, once again. And thank you all for tuning in, everyone that was here. Thank you, Alan, for your help. And yeah, you all heard it here. Take care, everyone, and be blessed. And thanks again, Stephanie.
Thank you.